They're bound by open meeting laws, so I don't know how they can exclude anyone.
They just probably did it hoping that they didn't get mobbed.
Well, it's at Prescott Lakes, some kind of a I've never been in that building. So they must be planning some to do, it's like from 1:30 to 3.
Prescott Lakes is that on top of the hill up there, and it was
There's some kind of a
their
building.
country, or,
What did it say? Something like, I should have brought it.
but they've got like a clubhouse.
I forgot to plug in my other computer.
Well, hopefully we won't have that.
How do you like your Galaxy, by the way? Your
I'm still learning it.
yeah, I'm still learning mine. If you
The tablet,
Did you get invited to the April 11th by invitation only thing with NACOG?
April 11th.
Somebody from the feds is gonna be there. She seemed to think you got an invitation. It said by invitation only, and I was asking her, because I don't know whether we have to notice it or not when it says like that by but she seemed to think you got one too at the same time.
Okay,
Wait, I'll tell you what it's called.
yeah, if you.
But it would have been April, it came like February 22nd was the postmark.
Oh, okay.
And it was for April 11th, and it said invitation only.
Uh-huh.
And it was the federal government grant, was the small business grant, and all of that.
Okay, and that came February 22nd?
It was postmarked February 22nd, so let me tell you what it is. But I didn't know whether or not,
others will get it.
yeah, because we have to notice if they are and if they're not. It's at the club at Prescott Lakes, and it's, let me look at my calendar, because I wrote down almost everything they put on.
Okay. Oh, man. Yeah, I can't.
Porter Economic Development, NACOG, and USD Award of Rural Business Enterprise Grant.
Okay.
I would think, Don would go, because he's our chair over that.
They pick and choose who they want to go to some of that, but it could be because I'm on the economic
Right,
development.
but you're on that for,
But it's possible I would have invited Chris and maybe
Yeah,
him as
yeah.
well because of our application.
Right.
So
I'll
I
have
just
to check
wanna
when I
make
get
sure-
home.
that's not a skate park.
Okay, cool. Cool, well,
I know
thank
that's not a skate
you.
park, I
I'll
can
check.
tell.
Did you get an invitation only to the April 11th thing with NACOG?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, at Prescott Lakes, Copper Quarter Economic Development Coalition, USDA Award on Rural Business. Feds are gonna be there, and Rural Business Enterprise Grant. Because they sent me a letter saying by invitation only, and then I never know who else is going.
That doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay. Because she seemed to think the mayor got one, and I just wanted to know whether we had to post it as possible quorum. You know, they're bound by open meeting law, so I don't know how they could.
I can look back and
choose.
see.
No, it would have been postmarked like February 22nd, it was a letter, so.
No,
okay.
when I get a hard copy, I usually copy that.
But
out.
she thinks that you got one.
Good morning, Chief. Doing
It's a
good?
letter.
Appreciate you.
You let me know if you need me to call Ted.
All right, thank you. Okay, okay. I read that to my wife and she enjoyed it, so don't call Ted. Okay, clear. And, all right.
Is there anything y'all need?
Mayor Marley, would you like a copy?
I'm fine.
Yeah,
You might need it before too long.
yeah, if you would, thank you. Oh,
Robert.
no, Robert, I
Were you
think
able-
we're good.
To get a hold of Tesla or find out from economic what they're looking for?
No, I have not done that yet.
All right, I mean, it
But
was,
I will reach out.
I mean, it would,
Anybody else want a copy up there?
it would be a big shot in the arm if we were to land something like that.
Yeah.
Not only for housing, but for, everything else we would like to do. And maybe,
Well, I want to make the call, because we have a ton of land, and they're looking for 500 acres, but, I gotta think they're gonna do something down near Goodyear where all the economy and shipping, but I will ask.
Who's that's that
The
looking
people
for town?
that are making the batteries for the Tesla
Tesla
cars
motors.
Oh.
announced that huge
Battery waste
expansion.
products are huge.
So we can ask, but we don't have a whole lot of competitive power against that market down there because they can get all of the chemicals and everything they need brought to them much cheaper down there.
But you
And they're
gotta
right
plant
on
the
the
seed.
10.
You gotta plant the seed. That's what I said last night at the
Conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
I think
Hey.
we're good.
when I asked the candidates questions, they know I'm gonna ask the rest of the company.
Well, Mayor, what do you think? Beautiful day. Why am I here in this meeting? It's such a beautiful day.
I'm with you there. Okay, at 8 o'clock, we need to take a break.
8 o'clock?
No, 6.
6 o'clock, we should be done.
Okay. Well, if we're not, we have to take a break so that they can change the dates.
You may be sitting here by yourself after 6 o'clock.
You know what? I may leave.
With me.
Yeah.
No problem, I was gonna get it.
Robert,
Thank you.
I can't find the sweetener. You wanted sugar last
Ah,
time.
this, yeah,
I
but
can't
this.
find any sugar. They got Splenda and all kinds of other crap.
Oh, that's splendid. That'll wreck you.
I know it. I don't like those artificial.
Okay. Hey, and we got lawn. Man, we are there.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
The Upper Verde River Watershed Protection Coalition wants to know if we want to have a say in the vote. They want to know if we want to give them $20,000 for full membership, $18,000 for
Robert?
30% off,
this the one we're
and
operating
$10,000 for half.
Yeah, we.
I can answer that. That's back in December 11.
We had to turn the key off on that because it was pulling us. But anyway, yeah, we need to, we can visit afterwards, but we better get the fuse lit on
There's the
this.
one I got.
Was it getting that bad?
No, revision 3. I have not.
They found you in time?
Tom brought me back.
Yeah. And
My
they
wife had the money already spent.
have the money spent. That's bad when they've got the money spent, isn't it? All right. If everybody's good on this side? Okay. You guys good on this side? We're gonna go ahead and spark out.
I don't know. I was just looking.
Yeah, we don't have a clock.
I was looking over here.
Yeah.
And like, wow.
it's that thing on his arm.
It's all right. This one will work. And our computers say 401.
Did we approve this wallpaper?
No.
Thank you. Okay, you bet. I know we have to, if we're still going at 6 o'clock, we have to take a break so they can swap the discs. Can everybody go for 2 hours?
We're gonna be done in 2 hours.
I think we'll eat about
Thank
5.
you. We're still arguing over the wallpaper. You wanna go for an hour and
Let's go
break?
for an hour.
Okay, we'll go for an hour, take a break.
We'll be done at 6, otherwise you're gonna be sitting here by yourself.
Okay, we'll go for an hour, take a break and eat, then we'll at 6 again, at 6:30 or so, between 6 and 6:30, we'll take a break. They can change the discs and hopefully we'll be able to wrap it all up, okay?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so, no, I don't think we're gonna need Phyllis, because we're not dealing with anything that's, lawsuit-wise or any of that stuff.
She's available from 4 to 5 on phone.
Yeah. If we haven't, if worse comes to worst, we can always have a recess and I'm good with that. Okay. Are you guys okay with breaking at 5 o'clock to grab something to eat? We need to give her some lead time to prep.
45 would be fine with me.
4:45. Thank you for being so easy to live with.
Setting a deadline on this, I mean, we're not gonna go to midnight.
The only thing that I do know is that after 2 hours, they need to change the discs. So what we're gonna do is, if it's cool with you guys, we'll give Liz the 5 o'clock break time for dinner. That way because she has to have the lead time for it, and then we'll, hopefully we'll have a good idea how far along we are. And if we can wrap it by 6, I'd love it. I don't think we can deal with everything in this by 6. We'd really have to be rocking, but we'll take a shot at it, okay? Yeah.
We won't go past when we're done.
We won't go past when we're done. Okay, cool.
That's a good thing.
Who determines when we're done?
Yeah, 6 o'clock or when we're done.
I just want to know who to blame.
9 o'clock is
Okay,
my bedtime.
Miss Hart,
But 9:15.
7 is
So
my
we'll leave at 9.
Liz Hart, are you with us? Okay, we're gonna go
If you're out
ahead.
of here at 7, I'm right with
We're gonna go ahead and fire up. At 5 o'clock, we'll break for dinner, and then if we have to, at 6 o'clock, we'll break for a disc change, okay? Everybody ready? We'll go ahead and spark this thing up. Okay, Kimosabi. All right. We'll go ahead and call this study session to order. May we have the roll call?
Turn your microphone on.
Councilmember McKee.
Here.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Wojak.
Here.
Councilmember Hatch.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Croft.
Here.
And Mayor Marty.
Here.
Thank you.
Our situation and analysis for the meeting tonight is that the town council met with facilitator Lance Decker on December 11th, 2013 and December 27th, 2013 to develop a strategic plan. And that's what we as elected leaders are attempting to work some of the details out on that strategic plan this evening.
Are those dates, I don't think those dates are correct.
Okay, those dates were made up. Continuing.
We need to correct
Okay.
those for the record.
Okay, we'll get them corrected for the record. We'll get those straightened up after a bit. We met with Lance Decker. We're not even gonna give any dates. How's that? We met with Lance Decker sometime last year to develop a strategic plan. The purpose of the plan is to create a single unified document that represents the broad policies of the town council, and I'd like to change that to the objectives, because that's what we're trying to do, is come up with some clear and concise objectives, and then hopefully some measurable results is what we're going to be aiming for tonight, and prioritize those policies or objectives so they can be implemented in a manner that best serves the community. Staff has reviewed the notes provided by the facilitator from the December 27th, whatever meeting, and used the information on those notes to define the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and trends, organizational values, and key result areas in the draft. Staff has also created a timeline, which Councilman Turner pointed out that we've not approved this new wallpaper, but we've got it. We have a timeline of the objectives and action plans attached to each key result area, which will be reviewed in detail as part of the presentation. What we're going to do is we're going to try and go from now until 5 o'clock, break for a short meal, and then if all goes well, get right back to it and see how much progress we can make this evening. This is a pretty lengthy document, and a lot of time and discussion has gone into just getting it to where it is. So maybe we can put a good dent in it tonight if we keep our eye on the objective. Because this is a draft only, staff recommends council review the document, discuss the current form, and suggest revisions to the document and workflows. I wanted to remind our council we're recording this so that later on, hopefully, we can be putting it up on on cable and let folks see what we're working through on our strategic action plan. This is also attached as a draft organization-wide annual workload calendar depicting the department's program and project cycles. Town Manager Smith will review the document with the council if time allows. And I believe Ruth Mayday had a presentation, or did Robert Smith?
Yes, sir. Sorry, is this on?
Okay, it is now.
Perfect. First announcement, I believe, based on comment that I got from Jan Maisie, that we are live.
We are
So
live?
we are live,
No kidding. Okay,
standing tall and,
okay.
yeah.
And he abused me.
I've used it on
By
live
the mayor.
TV.
I did want to thank council for their hard work on the plan. We have been working hard on the draft as well. I wanted to introduce the draft. Some of you may have had an opportunity to flip through part of it. Ruth Mayday was pretty much in charge of taking this draft and getting it into a cohesive format where you could read it and it would tell a story. And there were some serious challenges in trying to organize this. She's going to review with you the organizational format that was presented to you by Mr. Decker in the beginning, so you'll understand how this plan is built. She will walk you through this plan really quickly in a summary format to make sure everybody's familiar with what's in the draft. And then we'll embark on going line by line through the KRAs that council indicated with Mr. Decker. Staff, all of the staff have looked at council's objectives and tried to provide helpful feedback. That's what's on all these charts here. And we'll be making notes as we go to indicate council's wishes so that we can make adjustments and get a corrected version back to you. I just wanted to say kudos to Ruth. It was a tremendous amount of work, and she did a great job pulling this together.
Okay,
Very overwhelming.
excellent. Yeah, it's a big project. And after you're done with your analysis, after you're done getting us up to speed, we'll, one of the things I will want to remind our council is there's certain things that are outside of our control as a council that we have to maintain the understanding that there's, if we put a timeline or a date, a specific date on some project that's outside of our control, we're setting ourselves up for failure. So we need to understand that. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to be allowed to interrupt, raise our hand as she goes along, or is it by section?
Miss Mayday, what, are you planning on putting slides up on this, or are you going to do sections?
You should have at least the spreadsheet, portion of the spreadsheet that shows the key result number 1.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Is that what you're seeing?
Okay.
Perfect.
Yes.
How about if it suits the council, we'll do one objective and then ask questions on it, and then we'll do the
Sure.
next
Yes.
objective? Would that be okay, Miss Mayday?
Right, just as an overview, so what I did, like I said in the staff report, is I went through all of the comments that the town council put together in the draft strategic plan, went through all of Lance's notes, talked to him briefly, and went back and tried to craft something that was that kind of synthesized what everybody was trying to say, or at least my interpretation of what everybody was trying to say. So, you know, to try to organize and narrow the focus a little bit, because in reading through it, the word infrastructure appeared 15 times, so it was a little redundant to keep saying that over and over and over again. So I cleaned up some of the language, tried to, some of the ideas that were the same ideas, different words, to put them together so we weren't going through every single one. So what you have is kind of a synthesis of what was said at the meeting. In terms of the organization of the actual strategic plan document, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, trends, and threats, everyone sat through that. This is a review of those things that are already there and things that we're concerned about addressing. And it's helpful, really, as staff, for me to take a look at this, because quite frankly, all we hear, and I'm sure all you ever hear about, is what's wrong. And to be able to take a step back and look at what's right is helpful in framing how we move forward. We also included the mission statement, which is how, you know, staff and management wants the town to be perceived. The vision statement is geared more towards the community as a whole and how the community sees itself. And the organizational values of how we want to conduct ourselves, interacting with each other, staff interacting with each other, and interacting in the community. And finally, Lance had outlined the key result areas that council had set out for focus for the next 5 years, and then the objectives underneath each one of those. So I'm just going to come over here and yell. On the microphone? There we go. So really, if you look behind you, this wall is all of those KRAs, exactly the way that you guys set them out. And then staff went through and added more detail to the underlying tasks related to each one of those objectives. So for instance, the first key result is strong fiscal health. So we went through and looked at lined up all of the things that council wants to see done. And here where we talk about the bond approval, vote for the bond, and beginning to secure financing for the project, we went through and said, okay, in order for us to get here, we need to do these things as well. And the same down here for resolving outstanding legal issues, to have the UDO update completed. We then talked about, code enforcement, what needs to be the parts that really need help. We need to develop our code enforcement a little bit better, the UDO revision. So the dark gray are all of the things in the document that you guys set out as what you wanted to do. The light gray are the staff's comments, and the red squares are where town council action would be required to either initiate, to close out. This is where you would be doing things. And then the third KRA is up on that wall. We ran out of room. This is the one over here for the community engagement. These two timelines are so that you can visualize the impact of when we hold the bond election. So if we hold the bond election in 2014, this is what the timeline looks like. If we push it back a year, that's what the timeline looks like. These on this side are all sorted by department. So these are all the tasks that the clerk has. These are all the tasks that Development Services has. This is all of Public Works, so that you can see how all of these key result areas sort out in staff responsibility.
Okay.
So, everybody with me?
So far, so good.
All right, so we can start with key result 1, strong fiscal health. And objective number 1 is revenue instruments for full funding, to develop a council policy on contingency funds. Wasn't that done recently, Joe?
Yes.
So do we want to readdress that, or is that something we're good with the way it is?
Our council, yes, sir.
Can we get the same slide on our monitor that you're working on?
You should have.
It's
If
right
it's-
there,
Yeah, it
Doesn't
should.
look like the one
No,
to me.
that's not the one she's working on. is it?
right there, you
Yeah,
said right
it
there,
is.
first one,
Objective
line
number
6.
1, council policy.
line number 6, council policy on contingency funds.
But there's red here, I don't see any red up there.
Oh, there's red up here.
There is? Okay, well,
It's right here.
maybe I'm blind.
It's just hard to see it in some spots. Oh, I should say this. These dark gray vertical bars are fiscal years, and these heavier bars are calendar years. So that we can see how this all falls into budget years as well. So contingency funds, are we good with the way that is now, or do we want to revisit that?
Did we have any questions?
Could we
on
get a
contingency?
review of exactly what you considered that we did to
Sure.
set the policy on contingency funds?
If you go in the strategic plan, oh, Joe, I'm sorry.
Right. Exactly what did we do, so we know that we've met that in full?
That's when we brought actually through the finance committee, and we adopted the new contingency and reserve policies as part of our financial policy update
Right, when there was confusion over contingency and,
and reserve.
right,
Right.
when I asked that question, so.
Yeah, so in general, we set our contingencies for 25% of the operating expenses of each budget, and our reserves, well, I take that back. I think contingencies were 15%, and our reserves were 25% of the expenditure amount of each fund. So, and we took it to the finance committee, brought it to council, and then we adopted the new policies, I believe in January or early, but we just did it this last fiscal year.
You got January 1 and 2 that you Xed off here, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If you guys will turn to page 14, that's the beginning of where the strategic plan draft addresses the key result areas. And about 2/3 of the way down the page is objective 1. And the first item is action plan by January 15, review and establish council policy on how contingency funds are used. And that bullet point there is staff's response. That's a summary of what Joe was referring to.
Okay, thank you. All right, if everybody's okay with that, we move on to item number 7, I suppose, or lines.
Okay, so we're good, we're satisfied with the way this is right now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we can take this one actually off. So, Committee for Taxing Medical Marijuana.
Yes,
You wanna
ma'am.
address that?
Go ahead.
It isn't taxing medical marijuana because there already is a tax for the dispensaries as a sales tax. The issue was that most other states, for example, Colorado, do tax the farm growing.
Sure.
And the issue, we're seeing that grazing is now being taxed higher by the state. In fact, there is a current lawsuit against the county, and we wanted to approach that issue since we're
Sure.
one of the few communities. The mayor and I talked about it, and he's proposing we write a letter for the council to look at. I'm pulling up some of the information from Colorado and some of the other areas. We haven't set a deadline, but if you want to tell me, what date did we put that in there?
It-
It was long range.
Yeah.
That was down, yeah.
Yeah, my plan was within the next month to do the research and bring it forward so that we could propose a letter for the council to look at.
Okay.
And then if the council wants to form a committee, we can do that.
Okay.
Is that pretty much,
That's pretty much what we have up here, is this is something that town council would undertake and that it would be completed by the end of August?
Right. The line item in the action plan is by August 31st, 2014, establish a committee to discuss with the state the possibility of taxing medical marijuana growing facilities with the goal of increasing revenues for safety and other problems associated with the businesses, or with the business. If it's okay with the council, we could go ahead and leave that date. We can accomplish it before that, so
yeah,
that's all right.
that's fine.
Excellent.
Yeah, I should say I did abbreviate a lot of these, otherwise the whole room would be covered.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, and then the next one is set up funding for unique programs and sustainable development.
I don't remember who had brought that one up, Stu.
Probably me.
Okay.
Remember, I
unique
was the one
programs.
on.
Okay,
And
I
that
didn't
was,
say unique.
Yeah.
So I thought we needed some,
I remember as sustainable development.
right. But see, that can have to do with business as well as the environment, so
It's really a broad subject.
it's a very broad
Yeah.
subject. You know, one of the major concerns there was the water issue and potentially looking at rainwater capture. That's sort of on hold with the state as far as development goes, but it doesn't mean that we can't be ahead of the curve, so.
so maybe we could, because we do have the rainwater capture on here somewhere, I do believe, so we could just roll this one in with the.
No, it's not the same. It covers all areas. When you bring a company in, you should be looking, or with housing development, you should be looking at sustainable type buildings. We should be looking at it in all aspects. Rainwater was just one of them.
Right, right.
What date do we
Yeah,
have
how
on there?
can we, that was by June 30th, 2014, on page 14.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's up here, as you can see it on the,
Okay. By June 30th, 2014, develop a plan to put aside a certain amount of money to help fund those particular programs and the opportunity for sustainable development. If you want, we could leave it worded like that. We could probably begin to work towards a committee to bring forth legislation or, any type of
Modifications to our
resolutions or
codes.
whatever modifications to our code. If you wish, we could do something like that.
That's fine if
Okay.
it, it's a little ways down the road, but maybe we
You
should
bet.
start looking at putting it on an agenda.
Okay, yes, sir.
Weren't we questioning or holding off a little bit on our fees, impact fees, until the law, they figured the state had some stuff down there that's gonna repeal a bunch of the stuff that they already did?
Right.
And I know Prescott went ahead and did theirs, and now they're questioning whether they acted too soon. So,
I don't remember seeing anything on impact fees in
And that
this.
needs to be in
Is there some in here, or it
No,
needs
but
to
it
be in
needs
here?
to be in there.
Oh, I think we got plenty on our plate. We'll be dealing with the impact fees here in the not-too-far future, but if it isn't already in our KRAs, we'll just have to keep it in the back of our minds, because that'll be adding something in that wasn't listed. Yes,
I
ma'am?
think in mentioning impact fees in conjunction with that, that's an ideal place to
Okay.
include sustainable development.
That's gonna take a lot of work because there's so
Yes,
many.
little by little.
Yeah,
Okay.
to chop away at that.
That's a-
I think that action plan date, June 30th, really needs to be extended something, somewhere.
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, to have a plan developed by June 30th.
It's not gonna, yeah,
Okay,
that's
thank you.
really a broad subject.
Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Best.
I thought we had talked about having Pat Walker, who had already started doing some of that work for us.
Uh-huh.
She was supposed to give her some leeway to come back with some answers.
Yeah, I believe, isn't Pat going to be addressing the council in the near future on impact fees?
Yes, sir. She currently holds a consulting contract with the town to do that work for us. And our plans are to bring her back to you, probably the April, May, June timeframe.
Okay. Probably, I think as far as a sequence of events, I would imagine we'll have to tackle the impact fees as they are, but dealing with Ms. Hatch's concern to begin to work towards a sustainability in the town, I think probably just a committee to begin looking at sustainability practices would probably be something that we could do, and then roll the impact fees into it later.
And Mayor, if I could, the work under her contract's going to take almost a year.
Okay.
So there's a lot of analysis and work that has to be done to
Okay.
bring impact fees to you for consideration.
So maybe June 30th, 2015 would be a better date.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you need to put a start time on it
Yeah.
now, and
Okay.
instead of just a completion time.
Well,
So
if-
maybe that would be a start time and a completion time for 2015.
Yeah, if we add in start and finish times on each of these, I think we'll end up getting into sort of a wreck. If we have just a finish time, and we can start at any point. But I think if we go with a finish time, then we can be lighting it up sometime in the next couple of months. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think the problem with just a finish time is all of a sudden it's on top of you.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you start now and do your plans, it can easily get set aside.
You bet. Well, I think that's why, with all this wallpaper that will give us nightmares, showing all the points that we have to work towards. If you wish, we can add in a start time. I feel like if we have a deadline, then we can start laying out our priorities. Yes, sir.
I think our town manager said she's gonna be here in April or May, and if we went a year, that would be April and May. So their start time would be April or May when she shows up, and then a year from that time would be our finish time, or a goal time, so it'd be.
Okay.
So you could put it within the time frame of 2014 to
Start-
2015.
yeah.
Just put it in the,
Okay.
that it would be developed during that time frame.
How about between June 2014 and June 2015?
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you would extend out that whole line now to the 15th of June.
2015. Okay. See, we're already moving the bars. We're raising the bar and we're moving.
I really have a problem with that, but if that's what
Yes,
you
sir.
want.
No, go ahead.
I really have a problem with start and ending date on an action plan. As far as I'm concerned, an action plan says you will have these things done by then. And it's, depends on how much work you have to do and what you have to do determines the start date,
You
as
bet.
far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr.
Well,
Turner.
weren't these, when we looked at these dates, the way I looked at it was these are best-case scenario or dream dates. Okay, this is what we'd like to do. If we had absolutely nothing was gonna come up in the next 5 years except what we talked about, that would be one thing. But we know that other things are gonna come on our plate
Okay.
that are gonna interfere with all the rest of this stuff as
You
time
bet.
goes on
You
too.
bet.
So, I didn't personally feel like any of these dates were in concrete. They were
Right.
just a wish list.
You bet. So you're saying it may not all be smooth sailing?
Probably not.
Mr. Turner. Okay, thank you, thank you.
I don't mean to sound pessimistic.
No,
but-
no, that's a little more realistic. If it's okay, we'll take that date then, that 2014, and kick it out to 2015 as a finish date, an optimistic finish?
Yes.
Is that okay with our council?
Good.
For the sustainability thing, right?
For the
Sustainable
sustainability
development?
item, yes, ma'am, the action plan, let's see, sustainability, that would be line item 8, okay?
Sure, yep.
Okay, take us to the rainy day.
And it covers impact fees too.
Okay,
Yes.
and, oh yeah, I've got diffs too.
Okay.
So the next one is talking about a rainy day fund. By June 30th, figure out how to put some resources aside for a rainy day. The staff response from Joe was that Resolution 131010 also addressed the reserve policy. Are there any questions about that in discussion?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I don't think reserve is the same thing as a rainy day fund.
Mr. Duffy, if you would. And while Mr. Duffy's coming up, I'd like to commend him for having items up there we've already accomplished. It makes us look like overachievers.
I was just lucky. And actually, the town manager's direction to get these on. So the reserve fund is really just the amount we have in reserve that we keep, basically fund balances in each of the funds. So rainy day fund, Councilman.
That wasn't what I intended with rainy day fund.
Okay.
The rainy day fund would be like a separate fund in my mind when we talked about it, and maybe not everyone saw it this way, was a fund that we set aside for, little by little grew it for times such as we have just faced. I mean, everybody's predicting the economy is going to take another dive, and it may be far worse. And if we're in the same situation and just relying on reserves, we're not going to be in a great situation. In my mind, that kind of rainy day fund is a set aside that you try not to touch until you're really in trouble.
Okay.
That, you use for those times. Your objective isn't to spend everything each year, that you set that money aside in case there's another big crash.
Because our reserve policy basically sets the minimum amount that we need to keep, just in case. But, so what I'm hearing is maybe putting some of the money in a different.
Speak up, Joe, we can't
Or-
hear you.
Yeah, the reserve fund is basically the minimum amount that we need to keep, the minimum amount of funds we need to keep each year. So what I'm hearing is maybe set up a different fund where we physically move the money into this fund and just let it slowly accumulate every year. And that could be based on, every year we can do a, budget appropriation for how much we want to move over to that.
Joe, clarification, at this moment, we don't have anything that rolls over every year?
Yeah, our fund balance do roll over every
Okay,
year.
okay.
So what we have left in the general fund, we budget our revenue and expense, and usually we have a little more revenue than expense. So our fund balances do grow every year typically. But
Okay.
if we have a downturn in the economy, it's not going to take long for us to eat those reserves up.
Right.
So,
I believe when the economy turned southward, Prescott Valley had like over 16 million fund balance that was there, and they considered that to be their rainy day fund, the fund
the
balance
fund
itself.
balance, yeah, and you
Okay.
could use it as the same, it's really the same principle.
Okay.
And Chino Valley had a healthy reserve balance. I mean, that's how come we made it so far as our expenditures far exceeded our revenues.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think though, the reason that happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be incorrect, is that we used to have a much higher requirement for that amount of set aside. And we've gradually reduced the amount that we have to keep in reserve or contingency because we felt it isn't, necessary to not use those funds. And by doing that, if we face another big downturn in the economy, we could find ourselves suddenly laying off all sorts of, law enforcement and employees and such.
right. Well, and plus the town was able to build really large reserves because of the booming economy, all the construction industry and everything. So and really that was driven by construction sales tax. So your revenues were far exceeding your expenditures for quite a few years until the bubble burst. And the town lived off that bubble for as long as they could. And as you know, 2 years ago when we got here, we had that fiscal cliff facing us in the face when that was going to be all eaten up. So the question is, does council want a separate distinct pot of money set aside, or is the fund balances, if we monitor those and work on growing those every year, is that enough? Do we need a separate rainy day fund or not?
Right. We have rules regarding our fund balance.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have policies.
Minimum
in effect
policies
on-
that we have to
on
keep,
minimums.
yes.
Okay, so really it comes down to a question, do we establish a separate fund or do we use the fund balance as a rainy day fund? Yes, ma'am?
Maybe I'm wrong, maybe, or those of us who talked about that, maybe it's not financially prudent to do that. But, having gone through that and watching us go through those monies and watching us gradually reduce the percentages that we set aside, I do have some concerns that may be an issue. And I know that it's not something that the town has done in the past. And, maybe it's not a prudent financial policy. I guess we'd look to you for advice, but I would be concerned with our numbers having decreased.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And then I've got
I'm sorry, I don't want to take up too much oxygen, but there are a couple of things I wanted to clarify. The town was able to amass large reserves because of the economic time. I mean, money was easy. But the reserve policies that we had in place at that point in time are actually weaker than the reserve policies that we have put in place now. When we hit that physical cliff and we came to council and said, we've got a problem, the reserve policy that we put in place was a stronger reserve policy designed to keep us from getting in that kind of a position again. And whether you put it in a separate fund or it rides in the reserves, for us, I don't think there's that much of an issue. I just wanted to make sure that the council understood that the reserve policies we have in play today are designed to keep us from getting where we went.
Okay.
Right, and they're the minimum amount. We can always let those grow every year
Okay.
normally, so.
And I believe you, in one of your presentations, and I believe it was on this very subject,
We lost you. We're all off.
we're all off?
There you go.
And another thing, that was really important, Mr. Duffy. I believe you made a presentation to us regarding the reserve policies, and you had said there was now an instrument in place that would let us know when we were beginning to reach that fiscal cliff, as it were, whatever that
That's correct.
phrase was.
And if, during the fiscal year also, if any of our revenues, we show like a deficit of at least 10%, that I need to bring that to your attention right away. So we did a little red flag
You bet.
rule for
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, before last year, we were using reserves and contingencies interchangeably in the council. And it wasn't, that's why saying that our policy is better now is kind of meaningless, because what we did is separate them out. And we didn't have that separation before, so of course, the policy's totally different. Oftentimes people spend to the limit, and it's easy to say that, okay, we have a floor and we can just sort of set aside more, but if we don't set up a plan to do that and actually carry forward, we could end up spending every penny and not really increasing that amount to help us out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in our adopted budget, all of our reserves are funded except for the general fund. And we're anticipating that once this year recycles through, that we'll have the general fund reserves fully funded, which means we still have work to do, and we know that, so. And like I said, year after year, we can watch, and council can watch that fund balance, and we can decide, what we want to do with it. Like the HERF fund balance, we're letting it come down because we're doing the work. But the general fund balance, my recommendation is to let that grow every year and continually build that cushion in excess of our reserve policy. So.
Okay. If it please the council, this discussion, I would think, if it needs to go further forward, needs to go to the finance committee rather than tonight, because we're only on item 9 out of 300. And
Yeah, I know.
no, I'm just kidding. It's more. It's not 300, but if there needs to be a lot. A lot of discussion on this. For myself, I appreciate what you had done insofar as the markers to let us know that we were getting into fiscal problems again. But this, if it please the council, can we move forward off of line item 9?
Kick it to.
Okay, good. We'll move onward to objective number 2. Don't go very far, Mr. Duffy. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, objective number 2, by June 30th, 2014, create a plan for holding a bond election for wastewater expansion. I just rolled that into infrastructure because, like I said, we talked about wastewater, we talked about water, so to put it all under one heading, plan bond for election for infrastructure, step 1, calendar of legal deadlines for bond issues, January for the first week of January in 2014. So we kind of missed that.
Okay. January 1st, 2014, provide council with that calendar. Yes, ma'am, you had a question?
Aren't there certain timelines we have to meet for that to make aren't we gonna put that on the November ballot? And if so, there are certain timelines that are set because of that?
You bet, and that's what we're gonna be covering some of those tonight. That's why I nudged our vice mayor. He's been encouraging us on this Gantt chart for some time.
4 years, 5 years.
4 years now. We hopefully this evening we'll get to see how that Gantt chart lays out for the bond infrastructure. Yes, ma'am.
It's just ricocheting around.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I do have a draft that has been updated for a target of November 2014. I'll bring that to you in just a minute. I think the really formative date to remember is May the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Council has to have decided whether or not it wants the bond question on the ballot by May the 20th. All the other dates, the precursory dates on council deliberations can slide around before that, but by May 20th, the council has to have decided. Now, council can decide what it wants in that ballot issue and how it wants that structured. It has a little more time to work on it, but you have to decide whether or not you're going to take the vote to the public by May the 20th. And I'll get you that Gantt chart. I just got to go print it up.
Okay, excellent. And we needed that date. By May the 20th is our decision date. Okay. The calendar of legal and statutory deadlines for the bond issue.
So that,
Yes, ma'am.
20th, May 20th, obviously, is our drop dead date for that. Complete legal actions for statutory deadlines. There are some things that we're going to have to do to meet those deadlines, to have language crafted and so forth. The staff to prepare appropriate support information for the bond issuance. This really is something that falls on everybody. If we are going to go to the 2014 election, that's something we should wrap up probably by the end of June and it may be helpful to look at this again over here, where we talk about the 2014 versus 2015. When we looked at these, staff broke out some of the intermediary steps. So in order for us to hit the May 20th, council needs to determine what is going to be included in the bond issue, and that's something by mid-March. The staff to get the project on the WIFA project priority list. We need town council approval to do that, to go ahead and do it. And then staff to prepare appropriate support information for the bond issuance, again, depending upon when the election falls. You know, that's something that we can start working on so that we can get it complete timely to the electorate.
Okay, so our council understands we have two Gantt charts there. The upper one, which is the middle one on the wall there, is if we vote to have a bond election in 2014, and the lower one, which is mostly out of sight, is if we decide to go 2015. No, we just need to build a taller building here. Okay. Anyway, we have a 2014 and a 2015 Gantt chart. Once again, I'm glad we've got this May 20th drop dead date. Now we have something to begin working towards, deciding whether we really want to have this on. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm confused, because he said we'd have to make the decision by May 20th to have the bond election and then decide what's going to be on it. And she just said by March we have to decide what's going to be on it and then decide on the 20th, if I understand correctly, whether or not we're going to have it. So I'm confused. We may have a March deadline and not a May.
This is not a hard deadline. This is something where we need to start thinking about what it is we're actually going to do in the bond issue and have a plan.
Okay.
By
So
March.
it's a soft
Right, this is-
decision in March and a hard decision on May 20th.
Exactly.
Okay.
Question though.
Yes, sir.
But then we still have, I mean, we make that soft in March, but we still have time to deal with that even after the May 20th. as long
Right,
as we
this is just to
decide.
get a concept.
Right, okay.
Okay. Hard decision, May 20. But if we're going to get this on the ballot, we do have to actually decide on the 20th.
And Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Jamie's not here, but the arguments filed with the town clerk on 8/6 of 2014, I'm assuming that those are written and that those are the text versions of what's going to appear on the ballot. If you look just below, you've got council orders the election by 5/20.
Okay.
The PAC forms, the clerk notifies the county of the bond election, and then arguments filed with the town clerk.
Okay.
That-
This
that
is
would-
on our handout, not on the
Yes, sir,
slide.
I'm sorry.
Arguments filed with the town clerk. Yes, ma'am.
Those arguments, I believe, are pro and against, so the language would have to be in there. I think that's the deadline for the different arguments to go on the form.
And by that time, you need to have structured or decided what you want in the bond issue.
Okay, okay. We're going to have a lot of things coming at us, and that's why we need the Gantt chart. As our vice mayor has been hammering on it, we need to know what's coming up on the horizon, so excellent. And that is item number 11. Did you need to continue on that, Ms. Mayday?
Well, this really is just kind of informational because the rest of this all revolves around whether or not there's a decision to go forward with the bond issue. If you go down towards the bottom, there's issue contract for construction and complete project, and then Ron went through and broke that down into some subtasks of the select design engineer and complete design, bidding, council award and construction, and complete the construction. So we're looking at 2015 and having it out here. 2014, those activities would be back here, like we have them over
Okay,
here.
Okay.
Down here.
Okay.
If you have, any questions on that?
No, this is like I said, this is gonna have a lot of moving parts. We're gonna have a lot of things coming at us. We do need to decide whether we do want to put this on the ballot. And once we have decided, then we're gonna have to field a lot of things as they come at us, okay? Yes, ma'am.
It's probably a technicality, but bond election no later than December 31st, 2015, I thought it
That
had
was
to
one
be
of the,
November.
right, that was one of the comments in the text, so I don't know if that was something that council wanted to consider, excuse me, pushing it back to December, or if you're looking at a November date.
I thought it
believe
had to
it's
be in November.
November date.
That was my
Has to be a
opinion, but-
general. one.
Okay, but you tried to stay true to our comments, so, okay, thank you.
All right, that's out.
Okay, so, yeah,
We're good to go.
okay, we're good to go.
All right, objective 3, resolve outstanding legal issues. Council agrees to work towards resolution of Cortez lawsuit. I think we're pretty well down that road.
Excellent.
Reach settlement with Cortez. I spoke with his attorney today, and we're moving towards that.
I'm assuming that they have signed the papers then?
I don't know that they've signed the papers, but he did contact me about starting to schedule some rezoning activities, so.
In the papers.
Okay,
The, Mayor,
the agreement.
the attorneys have been back and forth. They are in, they have our signed copies. They were making an addition to the language that all of our attorneys agreed to. It was not a material addition to the language. I think it had something to do with dates and the execution of the document itself. So that Cortez's date of execution would be the date of that document being active, or I don't know the legal term. But their plan is to get it signed and get it back in our hands, and that was yesterday, so.
Okay, so nothing's ever simple. Okay, we'll keep moving forward on
So
that.
I'll mark that one done-ish.
No,
Done-ish?
Right, I'm not going to hex it, it's not done yet.
All
So
right.
if by the time we come back with the final draft that's done, I will take it off. If it's not done, we'll leave it there.
Okay, done-ish, I like that.
Concessionaire agreement with Prescott Sportsman's Club.
That's one of those with some moving parts on it that we may or may not have control over. And for the most part, it's a may not, but hopefully we'll be able to put the agreement together and take it to the Prescott Sportsman's Club.
Okay, so,
But their decision is going to be, we can't really put a hard date on them deciding yes.
sure. So we can leave that one as is. Town code compliant with ARS, that was, and then the UDO update complete. And like I said, I sorted this out into two separate things because we do need to do some revisions to the code enforcement portion sooner rather than later. And then the UDO revisions, I'm hoping to have the substantive revisions done by the end of the calendar year.
Okay, Ms. Mayday, for our audience sake, we do have some things in the UDO that need to be brought into compliance with state law, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we're slowly working through those. We've got the big ones, we're now down to the little ones.
They may not know what the UDO is.
Excellent, excellent.
What is the UDO?
Oh, the Unified Development
Unified
Ordinance, I'm sorry.
Development Ordinance, okay, excellent.
Okay, objective 4, resolve town's budgetary and financial issues. Here we talk about the initiation of purchase of the Prescott water system. Again, the Public Works Director went through and blew this out into specific tasks. Extend Road 4 south to Peavine Trail. Again, we have a few more specific tasks under that.
wait. can you
Excuse
move
me
our-
for a moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we get our slide rolled up
Oh,
here?
yeah.
Because it's too small to read the writing on those. Okay.
Objective 4, right?
Okay, objective 4.
Resolve town's budgetary and financial issues. Again, initiate purchase of Prescott water system, extend Road 4 south to Peavine Trail, Cameron Ranch, Bright Star Development Agreement and water rights, purchase wastewater treatment plant from the private owner, create a viable plan for gaining funding to provide water and sewer infrastructure, and complete the Loop Road project.
Okay. And as our council understands, these are some huge projects. Just the extension of Road 4 South was monumental. The Bright Star development, the purchase of the wastewater treatment plant, purchase of Prescott's water distribution system. These are some big ticket items that we're going to have to deal with. And so we're seeing some of these way out in the way out in 2015, and that's really understandable, and maybe a little on the optimistic side there. There's some big ticket items, as I said. Any thoughts from council on this? As you pointed out, these are wish lists.
Well,
so.
but also all of these are being worked on.
Mhm.
I mean, they're all in progress.
You bet.
So,
You bet.
Okay, so let's go over to number 2, key result 2, sustainable economic and community development. Objective 1, by 6:30 of 16, complete the Chino Valley Industrial and Commercial Development Plan. First, to initiate development of this plan, to have it completed, where did my dates go? Complete the Chino Valley Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Plan, oh, they're way out here. By the end of fiscal year of 2016. And then
Wow, okay.
the general plan ratification and adoption. Did I just shut myself off?
May have to.
Nope. All right. Work on.
Still not.
Am I supposed to be green? Green.
Yeah, it's green.
It's green.
Test. Test.
Try talking right into the top.
Can you hear me now? No. All right, now I'm gonna have to use my outside voice.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay, so then we're gonna go into working on grant money for infrastructure, and then some of the other, these are the specific grant programs that we have done. We have, I completed the application for certified site status required for the ACA. We got bronze. That grant has been submitted. This one, the EDA goes in next week. ACA, we should hear next week. And I'm still waiting to hear back on the shooting range grant. Complete utility extensions to Old Home Manor. Of course, this is contingent on money coming in up here. We have contract with design engineer and complete design, bid council and award construction, starting at the midpoint in June and then ending at the end of March, should we get the money that we need, the grant money. After that, begin to develop a plan which focuses on attracting a well-rounded type of sustainable business environment rather than just businesses associated with the gun club environment. And that plan we should be starting now and completing by September of 2015. Yes, sir.
If I could interrupt.
Yes, sir, if you would.
Part of those objectives,
I-
part of those objectives will require for real planning work. And we have a scope of work from Elliott Pollock's group on hand now, and we have a price. We are actively seeking input and assistance from the private sector. It would be helpful for me to get a feel for how urgent council feels we need to pursue these efforts, because we could bring that scope of work to council for council to decide, are we going to have an economic development plan done? And I need a sense of priority on these. They all fall under that planning effort.
You bet.
And so a sense of priority would be helpful to us. We'd know when to bring that scope of work and that effort forward.
Okay. We'll probably end up having to bring that forward as a discussion item in the council meeting, since we can't give that firm direction tonight. But I understand what you're asking for. We're asking for a lot of things from staff all at once, and we need to be able to assign some priorities. Tonight, we're just trying to figure out really how big this whole project is, and in a few moments, we're going to break for lunch, and then we'll get back and try and find out how much bigger it is. So I believe all our microphones have given way, have they?
Yep, they're all
Okay.
off.
All right.
No. Yes?
Yes, it is.
Test.
It's off. It's on, but it's off.
They're
Test,
lit up.
test.
The lights are on.
Lights are on.
Nobody home.
Nobody home.
Yeah, about half of us don't have anything.
They weren't working well.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Screeching.
let's break for lunch then. Okay,
knock.
great. Adjourn for,
Adjourn, I heard,
Long
he
enough.
said go home.
no, don't cut and run.
I heard, he said adjourn.
In my former life, when I lived in Pennsylvania, there was this old bachelor who had, his livelihood was selling eggs. He had a couple of eggs. Saturday night, he used to like to watch Gunsmoke. He would come over to our house. And I used to remember one of our wooden kitchen chairs in the living room for him to watch TV because his clothes smelled. And I did not want that on my velvet sofa. And you were sick. My chair.
No, but that is, the ticket is to the and they actually, Hickman's down in their Arlington facility, they actually built a plant where they take
Don,
chicken manure.
Mr. Don.
Don, if you'll wander up here after a minute.
Hey, Juan.
So they won't be doing that. So on a daily basis, that chicken manure will be trucked out of there and taken to the Arlington facility. So there will be no storage of manure, so the stink shouldn't be near.
Not to worry.
Don Juan.
Okay. Okay. We ready? No sweat. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We found out during the brief recess that we are still live on TV and the audio still works. It just doesn't work here in the council chambers. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we speak into our microphones, and that way the folks back home can at least hear us. So continuing, Miss
Is she
Mayday.
gonna speak into her microphone too? Maybe we still hear her
I
too.
don't know if they can hear me or not. I guess I
Okay.
can do it just in case. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we left off at completing utility extensions to Old Home Manor. And we talked about the time that it will take to do a contract, bid, design, and actually get underway with construction. Did we talk about that over there? No. Begin to develop plan which focuses on attracting well-rounded type of sustainable business environment rather than just businesses associated with the gun club environment. Develop the 5-year economic development plan. The new supports are in effect for local entrepreneurs and surveys to local entrepreneurs as to the type of support needed. Begin somewhere in this time frame here between now and mid-2016. Let's see. And then we get into some more specific issues with locating facilities at OHM or Old Home Manor, how many we want to get there, how many people we want to have employed, the beginning, commencing construction at Old Home Manor, and getting that completed, completing infrastructure plans, kickoff, these are all related to the bond issue, kick off the bond issue action committee. These all came back up again in the Sustainable and Economic Development Committee, or I'm sorry, in Community Development objectives. So they are kind of redundant, and I think we're safe in eliminating them here and just leaving them over there.
Some of those flood control isn't in there.
Yes,
Flood
flood
controls,
control's down here, I'm not that far yet.
okay.
Item 95.
Yeah. So if it's, if council's agreeable, we can go through and eliminate some of the redundancies here.
I'm good with eliminating redundancy, the less the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, then, down to research and provide list of cost-effective physical supports to encourage independent entrepreneurs in Chino Valley. This one, we have to have completed by February, by the end of this month. Town manager provides a viable plan to support independent entrepreneurs in Chino Valley outside of town facilities.
If you would, I needed to stop us on that one. That really is, that's outside our town manager's job description, I would think. We're trying to get him more towards managing the town. I don't know how the rest of the council feels about that, but.
I don't think that's phrased quite right.
Yeah, provides a viable financial plan. Maybe if we phrase it that he supports putting together a plan for, develop. But he's got enough on his plate without being tasked with providing a viable financial plan to support independent entrepreneurs in Chino Valley outside of town facilities. I'm reading off of line 17 in our,
somehow I
on
don't
page
think that-
21. Yeah, that's,
I don't think that that's phrased the way
Yeah, I
it was
don't-
If you look on,
submitted.
if you look on page 17, about halfway down, the action plan list by June 2014, town manager provides a viable financial plan to support independent entrepreneurs in Chino Valley outside of town facilities. The suggestions included were broadband support at local coffee shops. Town manager begins to provide regular 6-month reports to the town. That I split out into a separate activity.
right. Yeah, I'm thinking that's asking a lot. Hopefully our economic development committee can take over some of that. You're gonna have enough cats to herd, I think, so.
All right, so we're
Is
gonna
that
take
tolerable
this
with the
one.
council? We can kick
Yeah, I
that
don't-
one to the
I don't
economic
think the way
development
that's
committee.
phrased is quite the way, we have the business center, and that provides some support, but it wouldn't provide all of the support to people who use that part-time. And part of the town's support with that would be, you know, assisting with licensing and what they would need to do to get their town licenses and things like that. That would be within the town. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Right, excuse me for a second, Mr. Smith, our business center, business support center is up and operating, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, sir, it is, and we use it at, we don't deliver a lot of services there. That center is a connection point
Okay.
for people to find and access existing resources that are in Yavapai County that can help them.
Okay.
So we don't sit down with the person and counsel them on their business, but we
Right.
put them in connection with someone who
And
can.
see, that may
Okay.
be the outside the town
Yeah,
that
yeah.
contemplated, that
Okay.
he's providing support, but the support is information from outside the town.
right.
And that's where the confusion lies, because
Okay.
we're reading it as if he's responsible for setting up
Yeah,
coffee
yeah.
shops. Do we have broadband available for public use there, or just here in this building?
We have a computer that's made available to people so that they can access the internet and access those resources. And we do provide free Wi-Fi here at this building and in the senior center.
But we don't in the business center?
I don't think we have free Wi-Fi there.
Maybe we should, that would be a wonderful addition for that area if we can get Cable One to go for that as well.
Okay, we can try.
Okay, yeah, if you can look into that, it'll just be we're gonna find, I think, as our council looks at these, we're gonna find that we've got an awful lot of sparks that are gonna set an awful lot of grass fires, and we're gonna have to decide as a council
I don't-
which ones we wanna go forward with. Excuse me for
Okay.
just a second, you were up
This
next.
This looks to me like more of a chamber function than a town function.
No, but
That's support.
Okay,
that isn't what was contemplated by that, I don't think. I think that was with reference to his business center.
okay,
That was his idea,
okay,
and how he was supporting the community by accessing things outside the town. He's
Okay.
using databases and information,
You
he's
bet.
connecting to it.
you bet.
But that was his, there are additional, available to the town that does
Mm-hmm.
this. There is additional free services through NACOG. There's a big grant that NACOG has that we could interface with, so,
You bet.
and they provide a ton of services.
Right.
That would tie in with it, so,
Well, with our business support center, with the chamber, Lord knows we don't need to add more stuff onto here. If it's something that we're already working in that direction, is the council okay with scratching that one since it's already going forward?
Good for me?
Okay,
Yeah, it's
good.
fine.
All right,
I
we're,
thought the wording was a little odd, but
I think the only thing is that we probably should try to get wireless
Mm-hmm.
Wi-Fi there.
you bet, you bet. All right, excellent.
out.
One less line, a smaller bar chart.
Mayor,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you'd like, I can provide the town manager with the information on the broadband. That's part of that meeting on April 11th that I'm
You-
going to be going to, so.
You bet. Thank you. And you're interfacing with the Chamber of Commerce.
We are setting
up a Okay.
separate room for that at the chamber. Eventually, we'll have Wi-Fi.
Excellent. For those of you at home that didn't hear that, eventually at the Chamber, we will have Wi-Fi there for startup businesses, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Continue onward, Ms. Smith.
Okay, so we're gonna eliminate the town manager provides 6-month, regular 6-month reports to town council as well related to that item.
Well, are we going to get regular reports on the business center at all? Once a quarter or something?
I would think if there was business center stuff, it would come up in your town manager's report, but to have that as a separate ticket item, I don't think would be,
I'd like to start hearing the status of it, to hear the value of it.
okay, if you can add that in, if there's anything new, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, thank you. I've had to ask our town manager to keep his reports to under 3 days, and so, yeah, if you would, anything new on the business center, let us know, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, town begins research process of new types of sustainable businesses and what is needed to attract and support high-tech types of sustainable small businesses.
And that's the end of August?
Yes, that's by the end of August. Town looks at supporting small business centers with renewable energy sources such as local biomass plants. So let's do these before we get into flood control. So in terms of sustainable businesses, are we talking about those that are like LEED certified? Is that what we're heading towards?
You've got two things, may I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you've got two things crossing over. A sustainable business is simply one that's set up, and the trend these days are small independent entrepreneurs that can make quick changes. The business itself, as well as the separate issue, was things that, I mean, if you were at Old Home Manor and you were able to supply the electricity via a biomass plant, you would encourage companies with reduced electrical costs, or I guess you could use solar panels, although they might not be that efficient. You would be able to, a lot of businesses would like to come if we had some kind of sustainable energy, for instance, at Old Home Manor. The deadline might be a little short, but it's something I think we should look at. So you've got two things mixed there.
Oh, they're separate items.
Okay.
Okay. Just a quick comment. Items number 23 and, 93 and 94, I like the way they're worded. town begins the research process, and in 94, town looks at supporting.
Right.
This gives us that, what Councilman Turner brought up was, these are good wish dates. They give us something to begin working forward on, but it doesn't give us a hard and fast, we have to have this item done, because we're beginning to move forward on those items. The possibility of a biomass plant isn't dead. It's just that funding wasn't available, but hopefully someday we can move that direction. So, okay.
Okay, apply for and receive flood control grants, complete a set of action plans, and submit subsequent reports to the flood control district. In support of Chino Valley receiving continued funding, submit the next phase of the flood control plan to the county. Ron has added Chino Meadows 5 flood control complete design and secure Army Corps approval, bid award and construction control project. So we have the design and engineering here, council approval, and then the construction there.
Yeah, there were actually 4 separate, it wasn't all Chino Meadows. We had a whole bunch of separate flood control plans, and all we're hearing now is Chino Meadows, so.
Oh, no, there's, that's just the first one, too.
Okay.
Okay.
Public Works completes the second 2-year flood control
All right.
objectives and requests the final approval for the last year of the 5-year plan. The subtask to that is to continue the West Road 2 South drainage project, take it to bid, council award, and construction. And then Public Works provides a new schedule for the next 2 years of the 5-year plan approved by the flood control district.
Okay.
Any questions on those?
Yeah, I apologize, it was down below the.
Yeah, it's fixed so that you can just, well,
She did, but
Those-
it was,
those-
when I said that, I thought that was it.
No sweat. Now granted, flood control items aren't part of economic development, but they're part of a healthy community. Is it okay with the council if we leave them on as just keeping them before us, keeping us
Yes.
reminded? Okay, great. Continuing on. Ms. Nadine.
okay, begin with a plan to work with the lobbyists of the League of Cities and Towns and other organizations to encourage a state tax on medical marijuana growing facilities with at least 50% of the funding going to the town hosting said facilities.
I don't remember being that specific. We already addressed that in the
Yep.
committee thing.
Okay, cool enough.
And the next one is just the same thing with the different dates, viable plan to work with the state on taxing medical marijuana growing.
Yeah.
So the first one is, the end date is the end of March. The other one is out to July.
And-
So we can, do you want to take these out of here and just keep it in the other one?
If that suits
I
the
would say
council,
so.
really all that we can do as a council is put a letter together, send it to our representatives, and then it's up to them. That's a state level
Yeah.
item, not a council. Okay, we can move them out of here.
Probably get us sued.
Pardon me,
We
ma'am?
could, but it would probably get us sued if we did anything
Yeah,
differently.
I think we've started enough. That'll be good. Cool.
Okay, and also underneath this, excuse me, I added 2 tasks, independent of the objectives or action items from the town council, which is to do a planning and zoning fee study and update what we're charging in terms of fees, and then to initiate the housing rehabilitation program. Now that the state has decided to go ahead and fund that, we can start marching that down the path. There's some, again, we're gonna have to be looking at some resolutions and support, and some housing rehab guidelines and things like that.
Okay, just a reminder to our council, wherever you see these red squares, these are points at which council will have to make a decision on whether to write or vote in a resolution dealing with these items.
And prioritize the development should have been deleted, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't exactly get along with Excel.
so 109 is supposed to go away, one
Right.
less line.
That's easy.
One less
Good.
line. Objective 2, by 6/16, complete the Chino Valley water and wastewater infrastructure plan. Again, the acquisition of the Prescott water system, the highway sewer 89 sewer bond issue on the ballot, secure citizen approval on the bonds, come up with an alternative in case of bond failure, study on possibility of rainwater capture begins, and make available to the public very specific plans as to location of sewer pipes and water plans.
Okay. This item 115, Ms. Hatch, is that one yours, or was that Ms.
Which one's
McKee's? Line 115, study on the
don't-
possibility of
Oh,
rainwater
rainwater.
capture.
Okay.
I
Because
don't believe, well, I don't know.
Okay, because we've, as a flood control committee, we identified the sheet flooding areas where would be good areas to put retention ponds, and we've done that research, but really until we have some movement insofar as the state is concerned, we're sort of stuck.
Yeah, I don't think that, I don't mean to disagree with you, but if you're only looking at state giving you credit to developers, you're correct. But if you're looking at a plan so that we're staying ahead of the curve and keeping us in water when other people run out, it's probably something we should begin to look at in our development department, because many places are already doing it, and you don't need the state to try and encourage developers to put, you know,
Yeah. This wasn't about the water credits, though. This is having to deal with the legalities of stopping the rainwater. There's a lot of moving parts in there.
yeah, saltwater, Salt River, SRP, but it's a little bit different. It's not talking on a large thing there. Of course, I'm not sure how our, when rainwater comes down at individual homes, there are things that Prescott does, like water barrels and things like that, that they do to encourage that, you know, they'll give you credit for doing those kinds of things, and
Yeah.
that's probably something we could begin to look at. Of course, we need every penny right now for our water and sewer, but it's something I think that could help us a lot.
Okay, well, if you wish, we can leave it in. We just, it would be
So we're talking
more of a
small
soft
scale.
target, I
Right,
guess we could say. Yes, ma'am.
Small scale
Yeah,
rainwater
small scale.
capture,
Okay.
rather than large.
Don't, we have a study pond out at Old Home Manor, don't we, with,
Yeah, the study ponds out at Old Home Manor, I believe, Mr. Smith, those are to test for rainwater sheeting, is that not?
Ron would have to speak.
Ron would have to speak to that.
because we do have those studies going on.
Yes, those are projects that are part of the Upper Verde Water Protection Coalition. They secured funding from the Bureau of Reclamation, and they're funding, I believe it's 4 different types of surface treatments to increase the amount of stormwater runoff and then capture it into recharge basins. Civil Tech has completed the design on those. I believe they're waiting for final funding from the Bureau of Reclamation, so that's where it's all at right now.
Oh, okay, so they're not built yet.
They're not built yet, no. We have given them the permission that they need. I believe we've given them the permissions that they need in order for them to begin the project, but right now they lack the current funding in order to start construction.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thanks.
Hopefully our folks at home got to hear all that. Okay, continue, Ms.
Okay, objective 3, by 6:30 of 2017, complete the Chino Valley Roads Project Infrastructure Plan. And the only task we had under here was to complete the Road 4 South to the Peavine Trail, which is underway. Road South to the Peavine, or no, that's the next chunk, isn't it?
No.
No,
that's
that
what-
is the one.
That's what's going now, yes.
I can't.
Yeah, the 4 South to the Peavine, that project is currently under construction. We're hauling I'm sorry? I know, but if I speak up too loud, it's going to be really loud at home because these microphones in this auditorium are out, or the speakers are, so I can yell, but nobody's going to hear me at home that way. The 4 South project, I don't want to be yelling at the council too awfully much. The 4 South project is under construction right now. We are hauling the surfacing, the AB on it right now. We'll be finished with that portion of it by the end of next week, and then the last of it will be the guardrail, which will start going up middle to next week. So we'll be finished with the project second, third week in March. We anticipate, once all the bills come through and we get everything finalized, we'll do a final cost breakdown for the council. Right now, today, we're estimating, heavy on estimating, we're in excess of $50,000 under the what council approved everything for, so.
Excellent. We've got to get that one done. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so do we want to leave that on?
Oh, yeah.
Or are we-
Yeah, it's underway. so-
It's underway. We'll leave it.
All right, so we'll leave that. All right, key result 3, this is the last one.
Don't leave us now.
Wow.
Be careful.
She came up in the
Objective
world.
number 1.
Okay.
Certify a partnership agreement for joint cooperation between Chino Valley leaders and town partners, including people and organizations in health, education, healthcare, transit, and recreation. The first action item is to provide regular reports to town council highlighting organizational interaction with key community groups, leaders, and town's partners. The second action item is to complete a series of meetings to discuss and craft a partnership agreement with these organizations. The third one is to develop specific goals and a timeline for collective action in advancing the town's strategic plan. And the fourth action item is the town has a timeline for the goals to be established with each of these organizations individually and as a consortium.
Okay. Does any of our council have any questions on that? To me, that's a pretty,
Very important.
yeah, a pretty important part of our work as a governmental entity partnering with the community. This providing regular reports as town manager, who is MG?
Management.
Management and TC, town council, town council.
DS Development Services.
Okay.
I don't remember that the town manager was asked to do that, but
Yeah.
because that was supposed to be a function of the council to,
I just took a guess.
okay.
You're talking about item number 121, correct?
Right. She just told you, she took a
Okay.
guess.
I
if
just
You bet.
guessed.
wanted.
Some of these I had to just kind of guess.
You bet.
Some of them were obvious. You don't want me to design sewers.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
some of them I
okay.
just went, well,
Well, all things considered, you did a good job trying to read our minds here, so we appreciate that. Provide regular reports to town council highlighting organizational interaction with key community groups, leaders, and the town's partners. Regular reports to the council.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me just give you an example. At the last NACOG meeting, the subject of Yavapai College shutting down their
Mm-hmm.
campuses came up, and the state was made that the one in Chino Valley was being shut down to fund the Verde Valley, which is actually in Clarkdale. I thought it was in Cottonwood, the wine thing. But apparently, according to the members there, 97% of the funding is going to stay in Prescott, and only 3% will go to the Verde Valley, and they're considering seceding from the district. Those kinds of things are probably as far as they were asking what we're doing with respect to the college being closed here. Yeah. Those are the kinds of things that we need to be probably active in.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, it's a business decision by Yavapai College, because we've had folks, citizens write us and say, why did you let Yavapai College close that campus? And at the end of the day, it's their business,
And
and
that
it's
was-
their business
that
decision,
was-
so.
My response
Yeah.
regarding what our council would say, but nonetheless, the other councils and towns and cities are taking positions on it. And so, you know, it would have to be, I guess, you know, given the basis of our decision, because my response was I wasn't sure there was a whole lot we could do, although we were receiving letters from the community.
No, you bet. It's
But still in all, the educational system here and the availability of a college campus to this town is very, very important.
You bet, you bet. And I've spoken with the president of the college about that. But like I said, at the end of the day, they have to make business decisions that are best for the college. And where the funding went, or where it's been reallocated to, that I do not know. But I know they don't like making hard business decisions like that, but they have to make the books balance. Yes, sir.
One of the things that I see here that most other small organizations, small towns, municipalities have a business group that gets together and supports the community. We don't have that here. We desperately need it.
Okay.
Businesses here seem to be on their own. We'll have no solid front on, if the businesses got together here, maybe they could really have an influence with Yavapai College. So that's an important thing we have to develop here.
Okay, there is a business group that is coming together, and hopefully they'll be able to speak with Yavapai College. I think our main interface with the business community as a council would probably be through the chamber, since we as a town do help fund that. Did you have something, Mr. Turner?
Well, I was just going to say, pretty much the same thing you said was, maybe we could request from the chamber if that's something that they could do for us, is something like that, as far as the reporting of what's going on.
The key result 3 reporting.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I think when, I sort of specifically remember that we talked about recreation and working more with the college, with the high school and sharing facilities and such. Is pretty important, but somebody's going to have to make the move on council to sort of start initiating that kind of thing. So maybe it's something we ought to move to a meeting and decide whether we're going to set up a committee or choose some individuals to go forward with it by interest, or how do you want to work it? Maybe that's, because as it stands now, we don't have a mechanism to carry that forward. We don't expect staff to do it. And when we discussed it in the group, it was that we as council were going to do it, or maybe form some kind of a group to do it. And I know we're all buried, but this is a really important function.
Okay, well, we probably could do something like that as in a liaison format, like we have Mr. Best as our liaison with the fire department. We could probably have someone as our liaison with the business community, with you're already involved with the chamber.
I think the intent is to pull them all together in one place at one time, so we could all.
Chino Valley leaders, town partners, people and organizations in education, healthcare, transit,
I guess you could do it one-on-one and move it along. But if you had one person in each area, it would lack consistency with, Mike would be an expert with the fire department, but there's no way he could transmit everything he knows about the fire department to, say, the person who's dealing with education. And we can't really get together and discuss it because of the open meeting law if we have 4 different people doing it. So maybe it's something we ought to think about and figure out a way, put our heads together and find out a way to do it.
Okay. Well, objective number 1, even though we understand is an important part of moving our town forward, right now the mechanics of that, I don't think, within this meeting, I don't think we can hammer that out. But we'll leave objective number 1 up, and hopefully we'll begin to work in that direction. Ms. Mayday, before you fall, objective number 2, or
We
is
have
that?
kind of, for some of these, we have kind of short deadlines, ending in the beginning of 2015. Do you want to extend that out then?
I would be good with that. Is that okay with the council? Kick it all out?
Another year to 2016?
Why not?
Sounds
Sure.
good. We can begin working in that direction.
Yeah,
So,
if somebody comes up with a great idea, then we could move it forward, but.
you bet. We will have beat our deadline. What a novel thought. Yes, sir.
If we're looking at an election in 2014,
Yeah,
we
we
better
don't have
have that
time.
group on board before the
That's
election.
right.
You're talking the election, the bond
Bond
election.
election.
Yeah,
That
so
group
we
better
need
be
to
on
have
board
that
and
group-
functioning.
You bet.
Yeah.
Like I
Before
said, we can beat our
So
deadline.
I think our deadline's too far out. I think it needs to be sometime in 2014.
So you wanted to talk about doing it maybe, have something together end of July, beginning of mid-August, or earlier than that? July, August?
Is that your thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. July, mid-August, is that okay with the council?
End
We
of
can
Ju-
begin
end of
moving
July,
that
July
direction.
30th,
All right.
All right, end of July?
end of July.
Whoops, I'm in the wrong month, sorry.
Please don't lean 2 more degrees
Yeah.
over. Okay.
Increase
will
our
kill us.
workers'
OSHA will kill us. All right.
policy, it's gonna cost, premium's gonna go up.
Okay.
Now, is that,
Okay, objective 2, by the end of 2015, increase community support for the town's direction policymakers and staff to note that less than 75% is demonstrated by annual community surveys.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the action items under that are address issues raised as a part or reflected of survey of all residents. What is customer service and what standards do we want to establish for staff? Coordinate staff schedules to maximize customer service. Public Works provides an annual time schedule for road maintenance. Provide town council regular reports on Chino Valley customer service. Create a tracking system to report compliments and complaints from town's customers. Create a system for considering and addressing suggestions, recommendations, and complaints for the town customers. And then the other two that we added in here, which kind of are in here, they didn't really fit anywhere else either. Software implementation for development services, and moving development services and public works to the community center as part of the police takeover of the universe.
Okay. All right.
He's gone.
Let's leave lines 132 and 133 for a moment, and I think this objective number 2, one of the things we do need to do is continue our annual surveys and see how we're doing, to actually increase community support to no less than 75%.
It's not,
That's
it's not reasonable.
Yeah, that's not reasonable. We can attempt to increase community support, but having that as a hard target, I don't think is an attainable target. But if we continue to survey the residents and see how we are doing, I think it'll be a good start. Yes, sir.
What did we get last survey? 34, 37%, something like that?
Mr.
was
Turner was at
27%?
Yeah,
And 75%? Nah, not gonna happen.
yeah, yeah. Tw-
32? Yeah, so that's, if we can increase that a couple of percent every year, we'd be lucky.
Okay.
Maybe that's the goal, to increase it a percentage every year that we do the survey. I don't know, but that's 75% of the way.
Yeah,
Whack.
Yeah.
We could always start fining citizens that don't send back their surveys.
As a part of the continuing
Will you sign the letter?
All right, cool. Yeah, I tend to think we're gonna need to reword that. I don't know as tonight's gonna be the night to do it, but it's something that we need to take a look at, because it's, we set ourselves up for failure if we set that as a hard target.
Something we need to
Okay.
do.
Okay.
So you wanted to talk about revising the language for
Oh,
objective 2?
yeah, we'll plan on revising the language on objective 2, but not tonight.
Do you want to address any of the other issues under objective 2?
Hang on for a second. Okay. Oh, do we want to revise any of the other things under objective number 2? Yeah, it's items 130, 132, software implementation for development services. That's your code software, is that? Okay.
Yes.
That'll actually, I think, will be a good part of increasing community support, having that code software all put together. Moving the Public Works and our police department to the community center, that's got a red spot on it there.
Yeah,
Yeah, blood, okay. Anyway, that'll be a continuing discussion item, but if it's okay with you guys, we'll just leave it on there for the moment.
That's fine.
Yes, sir, Mr.
It
Smith.
does have a red spot there. If that activity is to occur, at some point, council has to authorize the expenditure of funds for that purpose because it wasn't part of our budgeted year.
You bet. You bet.
So there is, it definitely will be back in front of council.
Okay, cool,
Right, so
thank
that's
you.
why we have the red dot at the beginning, because none of this happens until this happens.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Oh,
And then the clerk had included a couple of projects that we probably should at least keep on the proverbial radar. Senate Bill 1598 that requires us to set forth some deadlines for applications filed and license requests. And then upgrading agenda quick, developing a policy for public body appointments, and some of these other things are things that council will be seeing.
our clerk's department's pretty busy.
Well, and I didn't move anything else.
List of essential records.
Because she'd already talked about the election, so I didn't think I needed to pull that over from other places.
Okay.
So that,
Upgraded
in a
agenda
nutshell,
quick.
is the 3 KRAs that council has set forth.
We're done?
Yeah, this
I
is,
do have one thing I'd
Okay.
like to bring to council's attention.
yes, sir.
In the last page of your packet, Jamie helped us pull together a schedule of the kinds of things that we work on and what seasons they occur in. It looks like this. I'm not sure if you have it or not. Yeah, it's at the very back of your council packet.
Okay.
It's the last page.
We wanted to put together a chart that was very similar to the chart you've been looking at this evening to indicate the kinds of seasonal and cyclical work that go through the administration. We felt like this might be good information for council to have when they are considering the creation of a new work item. Like, you know, you wouldn't want to propose road paving in the middle of winter.
Right.
So,
bet.
we will have more details in this chart for you at your next meeting.
Okay.
That will have financial as well as public works,
You bet.
cyclical work.
Okay.
And just to kind of orient council to the ebb and flow of what kinds of things happen when through the administration.
You bet. Thank you. And that's something that we as council do need to be aware of. In a short amount of time, we're going to begin our budgeting process, are we not?
Yes.
It's already begun. It'll begin to ramp up, and so we will want to watch the number of fires that we light as that budget process ramps up. So, excellent. Any other thoughts? This gives us a lot to digest. Yes, ma'am.
Well, if we could, I just wanted to run through the town council items here real
Okay.
quickly. Like I said earlier, some of these I kind of guessed at, so whether it was the council's intent for them to carry out these activities or for you to assign it to staff or something. Obviously, the Bright Star Development Agreement was something that council will have to deal with, as well as the Cortez lawsuit.
Wait,
Hang tight for just a second.
there you are.
We're
Go
hopefully
up a
getting
little
town
bit.
council up. All
Okay,
right,
good.
it's easier for us to read on
Yes.
our screen. Okay, thank you.
Okay, where was I? Oh, the concessionaire agreement, that's something council has to deal with. We would look for direction from council on coordinating staff schedules for maximizing customer service.
That's a management issue.
Okay, you want management?
Yeah.
Well,
Coordinate staff
Okay.
schedules to maximize
Yeah,
customer service.
I-
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I think there's an issue, some people think that we should be open 5 days a week instead of just by appointment. I know some of us have gotten calls about that. If you say development services by appointment, and part of the problem is people had already set their schedules to 4 days a week, so I think that that's probably the intent of that one, that maybe since we're back to paying full schedules, that really needs to be looked at.
Okay.
I think
we
that
can-
that's why that's on there. I mean, I didn't put it on there, but
Okay,
All right.
we can look at that one
All right.
down the road.
but it is a management decision, but maybe it's something we should have some input in.
Okay.
Purchase wastewater treatment plant, clearly, it takes your authorization to do that. Council policy, we already discussed that. The medical marijuana, we have discussed. Bond election, we've discussed. Approving the final plans, beginning a plan to work with lobbyists regarding the medical marijuana issue. Securing approval for bonds. Most of these are just things that you're going to be approving. Develop specific goals and a timeline for collective action advancing the town's strategic plan. The town has a timeline for the goals to be established with the organizations that we're gonna contact with the community outreach. Address issues raised as a part of or reflected from the surveys of all residents. Initiate the Prescott water system, already doing that, and then the legal statutory deadlines for, the, bond issue, bond election.
Okay, yeah.
And then funding the city of Prescott, in completing a water acquisition, completing that acquisition. And the attorneys will develop an agreement and the completion of that. So those are the only ones specifically involving town council alone, town council and management, or town council and finance.
Okay.
Now, the rest of these, again, wherever you see a red box, that's where you guys act. So I'm not gonna go through all of them because you've
No,
already seen them all.
no.
But in terms of how this work spreads out over departments, that's what these are for, so you can get an idea of what Public Works will be doing, what Development Services will be doing, what the manager and the managing staff will be doing, finance and legal.
Okay. Mr. Smith, I'd like to, I hope it's okay with the council, I'd like to leave these up for a bit, so this is a lot to deal with at one shot. But as we go down through these, we've begun the process tonight of at least, we've gotten an overview of what some of these items are. Some of them are big ticket, some are small ticket, some of them are already going on. But with the timelines up, we can get a little bit of a feel for what we got to start moving to the back burner, and it'll give us an idea of how we can begin to prioritize these things, because we need to be able to tell our staff, this is priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those are, and then we got to find the funding for them. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering, Ms. Mayday, if we can access these online, so, I mean, this is a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
Can you lock it so we can't screw it up and put it? I mean, if
point,
I go
yeah.
in, I might hit the wrong button, but if you give us a locked copy, so I can't screw it up if I go in and start looking at it.
Well,
Or
maybe the
email
better thing
it
to
to
do
us.
is leave it so that you can look at it and adjust things. So if there are things that you feel that we can eliminate or reprioritize, you can go in and move it around. I have a perma copy
Okay.
in a secret location.
Something that I think would do well for all of us is if and when we have an item that we need to address with the rest of the council, say, okay, it's line item 155. Okay, just take your line item off of the side of it and say, line item 155, I'd like to stretch that out a little bit, or I'd like to combine it with such and such. Then we've got, I like the idea of having it locked to where we can't mess it up. But we need to be able, as a council, instead of saying rainwater capture, we need to be able to say line item 155. That way everybody's on the same page and we're all addressing the same thing. Yes, sir, Mr.
And at what point, when you're saying we need to tell everybody, how are we doing that?
This can't be our only study session on this, all right? Tonight, it was basically to find out how big the elephant is. I would encourage you guys, as we go down these, you see a line item that's something that you feel we need to address, just take and mark it down on the back of a sheet of paper, and we'll sit down as a group again and deal with these. Yes, sir, Mr. Croft.
You know, I look at the departmental things over here, and do you have enough staff to do all this stuff in a reasonable amount of time? Because it is overwhelming. I think somewhere along the line, the council has to sit down and say, here's 5 major items that we really need to accomplish in 2014, and then reprioritize these to someplace so there's a logical conclusion that it may be, maybe 15 before we complete some things, but the really important things I think we need to prioritize. Because I don't think you guys can do everything, you just don't have the staff.
To piggyback on that, that's one of the things I'd like our council to do is pick out 5 big ticket items that we need to, maybe not complete, but we need to be rocking and rolling on in this next year next, and then year.
Well, and the other thing, I think backing into that would be a really good idea. Once we get down to where we narrow it down and say these are our priorities, then I would like to hear from staff for them to come back and tell us, is this realistic or is it not? Or this is what we feel we can accomplish and this is on the back burner? Because if we aren't being realistic to staff, then it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right. I think that was part of our original plan tonight, was we were going to digest all this and then give clear direction to staff, but that's a little bit unrealistic too. Yes, ma'am, your show.
Yeah, the only problem with that, for instance, with flood control is you have to start the process years before you're gonna do any of the, and they gave us a 5-year plan and a window to do it in, so while it may not be as important as Cortez, which we've really moved ahead, it is important to do it in this timeline. So when you set 5 things,
Okay.
yeah,
It's
it's a difficult issue to address.
You bet. You understand, we're there's going to be a lot of things here that I, as an individual, can begin to address. There's a lot of things here that we just need to put them on simmer, and they're going to simmer for a couple of years. There's a couple of things that we better get rocking and rolling on, like the bond issue and those kind of items that are going to be our big ticket items. I'm not saying we're only going to accomplish 5 things a year, but that would be nice if we could accomplish 5 big ticket items. There's I think we need to set out some first and second tier expectations that when we sit back down as a council, we'll be able to thrash those out and say, okay, these are some things, as you said, flood control, that's one that can be moving in the background. We can't forget it, but I think we're going to have some bigger wolves at the door. You had something, Mr. Turner? No? I'm good. Okay, all right. Any other thoughts tonight? All right, I think we came in under the deadline as far as the discs for our audience. They're hopefully going to be recorded to where we can, I guess, pass them on to Chamber of Commerce and air them several times so folks in town can see what we're attempting to move forward on. If there's no further questions.
And these are going to be up for Citizens Academy tomorrow night?
Yes, sir, we're going to leave them up in the room, and if anybody wants a soft copy of this, we're happy to provide it. We can provide copies.
I would.
How are you gonna provide it to us?
Well, if you want, like I said, I can convert the spreadsheets that you looked at tonight into PDFs, or like I said, I have a permanent copy.
They're kinda long for a PDF. If I wanna look at the whole thing, I could do it in Excel if that's what it's in.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to
Or
provide it to
Access,
you in
or
Excel.
however you've
Excel
saved it.
would be good.
Excel's fine.
Right,
Yeah.
and like I said, that way, if you have comments you want to add, you can put them in
Yeah, I
as
like
your own
Excel.
notes or things like that. So I'm more than happy to email it out to everyone as an Excel
I like it on a
spreadsheet.
piece of paper.
Yeah, reiterating to the council, when you're dealing with a line item, please refer to the line.
Yeah, but it may, I mean, if she makes the corrections, it may change everything too.
I will send you this version
Mhm.
and then
You
save
bet.
this version and then start with the corrections on a second version.
Okay.
And then once I have the corrections out, I can send that out.
But you keep the line items the same,
The
unless you
numbers
delete
may
them?
change,
Okay.
That's
but
what she was getting at.
the order that you're gonna see this in probably won't change a whole lot.
Okay. And it probably won't be the end of the world for us. We'll work
You'd
our
like it
way
in
through
paper?
that. I'd
Well,
like it in
One way or
paper.
the other, I need to get a copy on paper, yeah.
Good. Okay, excellent. If there's no further questions,
Move to
entertain
adjourn.
to adjourn. Okay, motion, 2 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.